Hi everyone. My name is Emily Benitez. I will be doing my presentation on my selected behaviorist for this assignment. So my selected behaviorist is Dr. Jolie Ringdahl. An introduction to Jolie Ringdahl. So he currently works as an associate professor at the University of Georgia for their special education program. He has earned his Bachelor of Science in Psychology from the University of Florida. He has also earned his Master of Science and his PhD in Psychology from Louisiana State University. He is a board-certified behavior analyst, and he also sits on multiple boards of editors for different publications in ABA. A few of them include Behavior Analysis Research Practice and Journal of Applied Behavior Analysis and the Psychological. So these are some of the articles that these are the articles that I used in my biography on Jolie Ringdahl. So the first two cited sources are different from the rest because they are not research articles that Jolie Ringdahl conducted. They are more just background information just more sites that I gained background information on Jolie Ringdahl to understand a little bit more about him. So the first cited source was actually a very useful one because it is an article in interview format with Jolie Ringdahl, where the APA selected him for a spotlight feature. So because it was in interview format, I got to learn more about his career, more about his preferences in research, and just kind of more on his kind of academic history and professional history. So the second source also gave me more background information and was very useful as well. So the third cited source was actually my favorite research article that I read from this assignment. It was a study on the effects of different adults as therapists during functional analysis. So in this study, Jolie Ringdahl and Sellers conducted a study where they wanted to see how a client's behaviors would be affected and the frequency of them and the difference based on when a client's caregiver played the role as a therapist during a functional analysis versus when a clinical staff member would. And the study found that when the client's caregiver filled the role as a therapist, the client displayed more maladaptive behaviors, which is very useful in a functional analysis when we are trying to understand the function of the behavior. So in the fourth cited source, was actually very different from the rest because this was one of the only source research articles that I found that did not primarily focus on assessments and functional analysis, to be specific, because it instead focused on differential reinforcement of alternative behaviors, and it created two conditions, one with instructional fading and one without instructional fading. And it found that with instructional fading, a client displayed a lower frequency of maladaptive behaviors when working in a DRA treatment package. So the fourth and fifth cited source on this slide include more information on Ringdahl's research in functional analysis and how certain stimuli, such as certain reinforcers that are available, can affect the study. And they are very useful, as you will see in the next slide. Jolie Ringdahl heavily focuses on studying assessments. So a summary of Dr. Jolie Ringdahl and my behaviorist biography include: researching Dr. Jolie Ringdahl, I learned a lot about his contributions to ABA. Dr. Ringdahl primarily focused his research on understanding more about the effects of certain stimuli on assessments such as functional analysis. He worked on studies that included the effects of a caregiver as a therapist during functional analysis and the effects of certain reinforcers during functional analysis. He also conducted studies outside of assessments, such as the one I stayed before with DRA, and sits on multiple board of editors for different publications. And I've included an image of one of the journals that he is an editor for. So here are my interview questions that I have written that I would want to ask Dr. Ringdahl if I was given the chance. So the first one is, based on your experience on researching the effects of different adults as therapists during functional analysis, do you see any evidence that certain age groups of clients respond differently in assessments when using different therapists? This was heavily influenced by his study on the client's caregiver playing the role as therapist. I wanted to see if he has seen any evidence that there could be an effect. Second question, what area of ABA do you find the most difficult to study and why? I wanted to see if he has any experience with other areas of psychology. I know he has some aside from assessment, but I also want to understand more why he heavily focuses on it. Based on your past research on assessments, do you see any certain environment, such as school, community, clinical, or home, that could be more beneficial for conduction? What other areas in functional analysis do you believe need to be studied and researched more? And what part of ABA would you like to further research and why? So that is the end of my presentation, and I'm glad to have spoken with you all on Dr. Jolie Ringdahl.